So, when the first series of this show initially came out, I slept on it. But the thing is though, I caught up on the show a couple of months back, and I couldn't believe what I was missing. Here's my review of series 1 and 2 of The Outlaws. The Outlaws. So, The Outlaws is created by Stephen Merchant and Elgin James. Am I pronouncing that guy's name wrong? I'm going to apologise if I am. And basically, the show follows the story of a group of misfits who are lumbered together after committing crimes separately and who now have to do community service together. However, when these people are doing community service, all these people get intertangled into each other's lives. Whether it's through romantic relationships, whether it's through money laundering, and whether it's through drug dealing. And then basically a lot of complications occur with all the characters in the show, where basically they have to have each other's backs in order to survive. And that's essentially the setup for the show overall. It's essentially the setup for the first season of this show. But there's a lot more to it than that, and I mean a lot more to it. And especially when you get into the second series, it takes twists you don't expect, but just in the best way possible. Honestly, I absolutely love this show, and I can't recommend it enough. It's so good, and I haven't heard enough people talking about it. It's so well written, and it's so clever, and it's so emotional, and it's so funny, but then it's also so thrilling, and then there's horror elements in there which work so well, and then there's also a drama, but in the best way possible, and it's one of the most unique shows, one of the best shows actually, that I've seen over the past 2 years. In fact, it may be my favourite show that I've seen over the past couple of years. And you know, I've seen quite a bit of TV recently. Some TV which I haven't even reviewed it on this channel, like Stranger Things Series 4, which I'm absolutely loving right now, and also I'm really enjoying the Obi-Wan Kenobi TV show, and so on and so on and so on. But at the same time though, this show for me, this show outdoes those other shows. It outdoes all the other TV shows I've seen recently. Regardless of how good those other TV shows might be, this show outdoes them. Honestly, it's so good, and like every single time I sat down to watch an episode of this show on BBC iPlayer, because all the episodes of the show are BBC iPlayer, by the way, I actually didn't watch any of these episodes live, like when they were first aired on BBC One and everything like that. I all watched them on BBC iPlayer, but yes, nevertheless, whenever I sat down to watch an episode of the show, I would just have this great feeling of excitement, because I knew I was in for something which was going to be an emotional roller coaster, but just in the best way possible. Honestly, I can't say enough good things about the show. I really can't. It's so good. And by the way, sorry if I sound a bit weird today. I've got hay fever and it's quite bad, but you know, I'm going to count with you no matter what, but it might sound a bit bummed up just simply because I've got hay fever and it's quite bad right now. But anyway, nevertheless, going back onto something I love though, going back onto The Outlaws, oh god, I love it so much. I really do. Like, all the characters are great, the writing's great, the direction's great, the performances are great as well, and the story takes twists you don't expect. And it's all down to Stephen Merchant. Stephen Merchant co-created this show, and if you don't know who Stephen Merchant is, he also co-created the original British Office, which I'm a huge fan of, and he also co-created Extras, which again is another TV show I'm a big fan of. I absolutely love Extras. And at the same time though, Stephen Merchant also directed Fighting My Family back in 2019, which I think is a wonderful movie, and he's done quite a few big stuff behind the scenes. And this is his new big TV show though, and he's co-created and he writes a lot of the episodes, he directs a lot of the episodes, and as far as I know, he's a showrunner of the show, so he has his hands all of the show, and he decides where the story's going, and decides all the big decisions regarding this series. And you can really feel that though, because the premise of the show is quite simplistic, it's quite familiar. You know, it's kind of like The Office. A group of misfits are all lumbered together and they have to try and get along with each other in this claustrophobic space. That's essentially the same premise as The Office, and you know, you can kind of feel it in this show. It's familiar, but at the same time though unique, because in the end, this show is so different though, it's so innovative than any other TV show I've seen though, because it's all about these people who are doing community service, and they're all so different. When they're put together, they have this great chemistry, the cast and the characters, and you believe in their relationships, and I just love that about this show. I really do. I love the fact that you instantly believe in all these characters, like in the first episode, and then you see them getting along in the first episode as well, like when they're dancing together, when Gabby puts on some music, when Gabby's like the Instagrammer of the group, the the influencer group, when she puts on some music, and then all the main characters start dancing to whilst they're doing community service, and it's just elements like that which make it so fun to watch. Steve Merchant's hands are clearly all over this show, and especially in the writing as well. Like, I talked about this in my view of Afterlife Series 2, or was it Afterlife Series 3, sorry, Afterlife Series 3, where basically I said that I've been religiously listening to the Rick Gervais podcast, the X-Film Rick Gervais podcast on Spotify. And if you don't know what that is, by the way, it's when Rick Gervais, Stephen Merchant and Carl Pilkington all basically did a podcast in the early 2000s, and they just rambled on about random stuff, but it's so funny, it really is. And if you haven't listened to those podcasts, go and listen to them. They're some of the most funniest things I've ever heard in my life. I just stick them on every single day, and I've left my head off at them, I really will. And Stephen Merchant tells stories on those podcasts, and he comes out with these witty jokes as well. And it's the same sort of humour in this show. And I've started to notice that quite a bit. Like, some of the jokes are even the same. They really are, especially in the second series. Like, that's literally like something he said in the Rick Gervais podcast. And I love that about this show. I love the fact that you find little glimmers of Merchant's earlier work. And I wouldn't really say that the Rick Gervais podcast would work, to be honest. It just seems like, you know, a group of guys in a pub talking together. But still, nevertheless, I love the fact they have elements of Merchant's earlier work, you know, mirrored into this show. And I just think that works so well. And you can clearly tell that Steve Merchant has his hands all over the show. Also, he's directed quite a few episodes in the show. I don't actually know if he directed any of the episodes in Series 2. I did think Series 2 was well directed, but I remember he directed the first, he directed the first couple episodes of Series 1, and they were so well directed. Steve Merchant is definitely getting better as a director, because that's not his primary years, he's a writer. You know, if you look at stuff like The Office and Extras and so on and so on and so on, you know, Life's Too Short, he's primarily a writer. But, you know, you can tell he's clearly getting better, whether it's, you know, with Fighting My Family and now with this. He directs quite a few episodes of the show overall, and I love the episodes he directed. That's like this great energy with them, and they're really well directed, and they had this great, you know, camera tracking in there. Just, the filmmaking of the show overall is brilliant. Like, he didn't direct all the series, but you can clearly tell that he has his hands in what he wants to do. Like, he's a showrunner. As far as I'm aware, he's a showrunner of the show. I can clearly tell that. And all the direction is just, it's so brilliant in the show. But I particularly loved the episodes which were directed by Stephen Merchant. Not all of them were, which is fine. You know, he's a busy guy, which is understandable. But still, I love the episodes he directed, and for all the other episodes which were directed by different people, whether it was John Butler or Alicia Hammond, I always look in the credits at the opening of each episode, and sometimes, you know, it's directed by, you know, John Butler or Alicia Hammond, like I already mentioned. Whenever it was directed by those people, it was still good, but I loved the episodes directed by Steve Merchant, but the episodes directed by other people were fine as well. But also, another reason that Steve Merchant's hands are clearly all over the project is because of the fact that he's in it. He plays Greg, this lawyer who's a bit corrupt, to be honest. Like, I'm not going to get into detail in case you haven't seen the show, because in the end, this video is like one big recommendation for you guys to go and watch the show. Honestly, I can't recommend it enough. But yeah, Stephen Merchant plays this corrupt lawyer who basically is not that great at things in life in general. And I just love his character in the show. Like, he is the funniest character in the show. I'm not going to say he's the best character. In fact, no, he is. But at the same time, though, Christopher Walken is awesome in the show as well. And he is bloody brilliant. He's so good in the show. But yes, going back onto Greg. Greg is so good in the show. Greg, played by Stephen Merchant, is so much fun to watch. And there's so many laugh-out-loud elements with him in this series. Like, just in the first episode of Series 2, just he's trying to talk to the girl that he likes, and he stands up, and because he's so tall, because Steve Merchant is so tall, he just stands up and his head goes into this light, and he just gets tangled up in all the things going on in the light. This is so funny. I haven't explained that joke well, but it's so funny in the show. It really is. And there's so many great jokes with him in the show. There really is. But at the same time, though, he's a well-written character. And you believe in his relation with Gabby. Like, Gabby is one of the key characters in the show. And by the way, Richard E. Grant plays her dad in a little cameo role in the first series, which is quite interesting to watch, quite fun to watch. But yeah, Gabby is a really interesting character because she's kind of like an influencer. She's all over Instagram. She's always getting people around. She's got a huge fan base and things like that. But then you see the troubles that, you know, Faye might have in that sort of way. And you really get that with the Gabby character. And her relationship with Greg is so funny to watch. It really is. And especially in the second series where Gabby's trying to get Greg to kind of look cool, like he could go into a club and pick up some girls. And he's trying on all these clothes and things like that. And Gabby's like, no, that doesn't look good so whatsoever. Like when he tries on a shirt and tie with leather pants, and she's like, no, because she's like a big fashion icon, and it's so funny that I'm not explaining it well, but I'm just kind of reminiscing on how good the show was. That's what I'm talking about, and how good Steve Merchant's character was as well. Like, Steve Merchant as Greg is so good in the show, and he's my favourite character through both series, and he is by far the funniest character. I wouldn't say by far, but he is the funniest character of the show. And at the same time, though, Christopher Walken in the show. Christopher Walken, famous American star from like Deer Hunt and so on and so on, is in this show. And he's great in there. From what I remember, he's not in every episode because, well, it's Christopher Walken. I dare say he was busy when they're making the show overall. Which is another note, by the way. They shot this show at the height of COVID. And it doesn't feel like that whatsoever. But anyway, going back onto Christopher Walken, I just love that character as well. I love how he's kind of there in all of this. Like, you got all these people in the show, all these characters which have proper Bristol accents because the show is set in Bristol. And then you have him, he's got his American accent. He's just so different than all the characters, but then he perfectly fits in with the show as well. There's just something about the way the Christopher Walken character is written. The character's name is Frank, and there's just something about the way that character is written and how Christopher Walken plays him, which just makes it great to watch. Christopher Walken is so sublime in the show, but then there's other great characters. Like I already mentioned, Gabby, she's great in the show. Diane, the police officer who looks over the community service, is so much fun to watch. She really is, and so unexpected. And like there's a couple of moments in series 2 where she's on drugs. She's a lot of fun to watch. But then also in the last episode of series 1, where she kind of has to, where she's having to help the outlaws, the people who are doing the community service, as they try and pull off this like mini trick and things like that. I'm not explaining myself well, but yes, Diane is great in the show, and she's the one who looks over the community service. But at the same time, though, you know, Riley's great in the show. There's a great character development with her character. Christian is also great in the show. You really believe in his character as well. And also, John is really good in the show. There's a really emotional character out there. But then he also has some laugh out loud moments. Like I think it's series 2, episode 5, when he's trying to smuggle something back into Bristol, and he's on the motorway, and he gets pulled by the police, and he has like, I try not cool, and he puts on like You're Beautiful by James Blunt on his stereo in his car, and he just starts trying to sing it to act cool. It's so funny. But at the same time, though, Verna's great in the show. She plays an activist, and there's a really great character with her character, and also just all the other characters are so much fun. Even the side characters, like Chris Walken's character's daughter, Frank's daughter in the show, is a great character. There's a lot of character going on there, and also just you believe in other character relations, even the side characters, even when Richard E. Grant pops in the first series, you believe in that character. Even when I was sat there thinking, okay, I'm watching Richard E. Grant now play a character, it still kind of works in the context of the show. And also Clay's Bang pops up, you know, in a bit of the first series, but quite a lot of the second series, and he's great in there. Clay's Bang played the villain in The Northman, which I loved, by the way. I loved his performance as villain in The Northman. I thought the film was fantastic, and I thought he was great as a villain. And also, he played Dracula in the BBC Dracula series, which came out a couple of years ago now, which I reviewed, and I wasn't the biggest fan of that series, but I did like him in it, and he's great in the series once again. He plays a dean, who's a prominent character in the second series. Not in a lot of the second series, but you kind of feel his presence through all the episodes, which is another great thing, by the way, in the writing. Even when a character's not there, you still feel their presence, which just makes the show that much more better. But yeah, Clay's Bang is great in the second series, and he's quite... he's got like a certain dominance as well, which I really dug. I really loved that character, the way he played, and the way that character was written, and how they kind of... I was about to give something away there, but like how they kind of play around that character in the last 2 episodes of series 2. And yeah, all the performances are so good. And you just believe in other characters, which is saying something. We've got like Stephen Merchant, Christopher Walken, you know, alongside basically these people who are just kind of doing Bristol accents or doing community service, things like that. But then you believe in other characters, though. You shouldn't. You shouldn't believe that Christopher Walken's character, Frank, should interact with all these people with Bristol accents. But they can't. But somehow Stephen Merchant makes it work. I don't know what it does, but it's so fun to watch. Really it is. Watching all those characters interact and got great chemistry. The whole cast has got a fantastic chemistry, and each character has their own character development, which goes on from like series 1 episode 1 to series 2 episode 6, and you can clearly see how the characters are developed, but in just so brilliant ways. Honestly, you sit back at the end of series 2, you go, wow, it makes perfect sense how that character developed over time, over the 6 episodes of both series individually. And also at the same time, though, you know, the series is a love letter to Bristol. You know, Stephen Merchant came from Bristol, and he said he made this show as a love letter to the city. He made the show as a love letter to Bristol. And you can really get a feel like that. The amount of shots of Bristol Bridge in the show is kind of ridiculous. But at the same time, though, it's another reason I kind of love it so much. Honestly, I'm pretty sure it's like 2 shots. I'm pretty sure it's like 2 30-second shots of Bristol Bridge in every single episode. That really is, but still, it's Bristol Bridge. Why not showcase it? And by the way, it's a really nice bridge I've been on in the past. But anyway, yes, that's over here or there. But anyway, yeah, you can really get a feel that Stephen Merchant, you know, had made this show as a love letter to Bristol. And you really get a feeling of that. And I love the way it's directed. I love the way that you I love the way that Bristol feels like a character in the show, particularly in the first series. It does in the second series, but not as much, I'd say, but especially in the third series. And I love how it kind of feels big, but at the same time, no small. Like, this whole show takes place in Bristol, but there's a lot of, like, car chases in there, particularly in the second series. I think series 2, episode 4 has a big car chase in, which was a lot of fun to watch, in Bristol on a motorway, which, I never thought I'd say that a car chase in a show about people doing community service in Bristol was actually a lot of fun to watch. But here we are in 2022, and weird things have happened. But yes, there's car chases in the second series. There's just foot chases, chases through the cities, chases through Bristol City in the first series as well, which are great to watch. And just for a show that takes place in Bristol, it feels both big and small, and just in the best way possible. It really does. And I love the scope of this show, and I love how, Stephen Merchant made Bristol a kite in the show as well. I love how he, showcases the amazing landscapes of Bristol, and he makes Bristol feel like a character, and I absolutely love that. And also the theme music of the show as well, bum 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 dum 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 da da dum. It's got a great main theme, because a main theme from a show is good when you can sing it, when it gets stuck in your head. And I must admit, I finished the last episode of series 2 yesterday, the last episode of the entire show, to be honest, that's what it seems like. But anyway, yes, I finished the last episode of the show yesterday, and the theme is still stuck in my head. That tells you the show's good. It really does, because the main theme is good. It gets you thinking about the theme music, then it gets you thinking about the show overall. And honestly, I love the theme music of the show. I don't think enough people have talked about the music of the show overall. I don't think enough people have talked about this show. Go and watch it. Honestly, just go and watch it. All episodes of BBC iPlayer. And by the way, it also looks like it's only going to be 2 series long. Like, the first series is 6 episodes long, and the second series has also got 6 episodes as well. It's not long series. I mean, each episode is an hour long, and you feel that, by the way, in the best way possible. Like, you feel the length, but it doesn't feel too long, but it doesn't feel too short each episode. And I really love that about the series. There's a lot that happens in each and every episode. There's no filler episode, and I love that. It's 2 series of solid TV. I absolutely adore that about the show, because it's that British format. It's 2 series of solid TV. It's kind of like the original British Office. The original British Office went for 2 series and a Christmas special. I think the Christmas special was 2 parts, but still, nevertheless, it didn't run for long. It ran for less than 3 series, and it was still so good. Honestly, the original British Office, and I know I'm going about the British Office a bit here, but Stephen Merchant was a co-creator on that show, and he's a co-creator on this show as well. And the original British Office went out with an absolute bang in its final episode, and the same thing happened here. Honestly, the final 2 episodes of the show, I was worried they were going to stick the landing, because there was a lot going on still, but they did. And it's such a fun way. Honestly, it's kind of like a heist in the last episode, but still, they managed to pull it off in the most British, but the most perfect way possible, and they stuck landing the show, because I was kind of sad when it ended. It was kind of like a bittersweet feeling when it ended the show, because I loved it overall. I just absolutely adored it, and so it was sad when it ended. But at the same time though, I sat there watching the last scene of the last episode of series 10 and went, that was a perfect place to end it. That was perfect. If you did another episode, it might be good. Like, they might do a Christmas special and it might be fine. But at the same time though, I don't think they will. If they leave this show here with series 2 episode 6, I personally think that's perfect. It had a perfect ending, and it made sense, and I thought they stuck the landing in the best way possible, and I thought that overall it was a solid show. Yes, some episodes are weaker than others, and yes, there's some glaring plot holes in the show overall, but, it didn't really matter for me. It really didn't, because it's just a lot of fun. It's not Sopranos level TV or anything like that, but what it is a fun TV show that will keep you on the edge of your seat in so many sequences. Honestly, some parts of the series are quite intense. They really are. Like, even though it's primarily a comedy, there's a lot of intense sequences in the series overall. But also there's whole in this series, there's drama series, and you feel, all the characters. And that's another reason I love it so much. That's the other big reason, because each and every time I sat down to watch the show, I felt like I enjoyed hanging out with all these characters. That was the thing. I enjoyed hanging out with all these characters, whether it was Greg, Gabby, Frank, John, Myrna, or even Ryan and Christian, or even some of the other side characters as well. And, it's so good in that way. It really is. And there's a great narrative thrust through both series, with the police trying to get behind what's going on with these outlaws, what's going on with these people, who are doing community service, because basically they're going to avoid crimes and things things like that. And there's a great narrative thrust going on there through series 1 and 2, but at the same time though, there's twists you don't see coming. And there's clever writing, which honestly makes you just go, wow. It quite literally does. In the episode, like, there's a twist in series 1, episode 5, where you find out about a certain character doing community service and maybe why he shouldn't be doing it. And that twist literally had me go, wow. It really did. Which I haven't really done with a TV show recently. You know, that's saying something as well. Because I watched Strange Things Series 4 recently, and I haven't actually reviewed Strange Things Series 4 Volume 1 yet. But I think Strange Things at the moment is fantastic. But I think the show's better. I've got to admit I do. But maybe that's me being a bit biased here, because I love Stephen Merchant, and I have been to Bristol, and I, recognise a lot of parts of the show, and also it felt very much like a British show as well. Even so, you got, Chris Walken in there, playing an American character. That's kind of the whole point of his character. He's American, and he's a bit all over the place, but that's what makes it so good to watch. But even so, you got Chris Walken in there, it still feels like a British show. It still feels inherently British, and it's great. I can't say enough good things about this show. I really can't. I absolutely love it. Honestly, overall, it's so much fun to watch. It's got enthralling writing. It's intense when it needs to be. It's intense when it wants to be. And also got a bit of horror in there, which is so good to watch. And it's a good drama, and it's got a hilarious comedy, which literally makes you laugh out loud. But at the same time, though, it's well directed. It's well put together. And yes, the series has plot holes, but in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter, because you just end up having so much fun with each and every episode. Yes, some episodes are better than others, but it happens with every TV show. In every TV show, some episodes will always be better than others. But even here, though, each episode has so many good elements, and there's no one filler episode, and the characters are so much fun to watch. There's a great chemistry with all the characters, a great character development with all the characters, even some of the side characters, like this policewoman who's kind of like overseeing the community service as well. Not Diane, but it's like this other policewoman who's kind of trying to find out what's going on with the drug deal, and there's a great character development with her character. But then also, it's just so good to watch. It really is. Like, the theme music's great, and you feel like Bristol is a character in the show, and Stephen Merchant's hands are clearly all over the series, but in the best way possible. It's great, it's so much fun to watch, and I can't recommend it enough, because I just absolutely love it. And so, all in all, I'm going to say that the Outlaws Series 1 and 2, I'm going to say it's a 9 out of 10. Honestly, I mean this from the bottom of my heart. Go and watch this show. I can't recommend it enough. Too many people sleep on it. It's brilliant. It's so good. I wish I watched Series 1 when it aired, and I wish I got to review Series 1 earlier, so maybe I could have recommended the series earlier on this channel, because it's just so good. But I watched the series late. I watched the first series of this series a couple of months ago, and you know what, I'm kind of glad that I did, by the way, because I finished the first series, and I heard that the second series was only coming out like 2 months. I was like, that's great, I don't have long to wait for the second series, because the first series left open a bit, which I really liked. But yes, I love this show, and I can't believe I slept in the first series, and I was a bit hesitant to watch it. Honestly, if you're hesitant to watch it, don't be. It's so good to watch. It really is. And I absolutely love it. And, it's unique, it's brilliant, it's exciting, and it's also, emotional, and it's just something so different than anything I've seen recently. It really is. Like, I may love all these Star Wars TV shows and things like that, but in the Star Wars TV shows, you roughly, to a certain degree, know what you're getting with each and every show. You roughly know what you're getting with each and every Star Wars series, no matter what. Same with the Marvel series as well. And also Stranger Things Series 4, as good as that is, and I absolutely love Stranger Things Series 4 so far, as good as that show is, this show, there's just something about it that just makes it so unique and distinctive and innovative. That's what's kind of better. Stranger Things Series 4 is so good, and I'm loving it. But this show, I've got to admit, I think it's better just because it's so unexpected. You go into this show thinking you're going to watch one show about all these people doing community service, trying to get along with one another. But in the end, it's something very different. And actually, you just enjoy hanging out with the characters each time you watch every episode. Like, I didn't watch the show weekly. I watch all the episodes on BBC iPlayer. But even when I watched all the episodes, I sat down to watch each and every episode, and I went, I'm so excited right now because I know I'm going to have so much fun with each episode. And yes, some episodes are better than others. Some episodes, I've got to submit, are significantly better than others. But in the end, whether it's the first series, whether it's the end of the first series, whether it's the end of the second series, each series went out with a bang. But the second series stuck the landing in just the best way possible. And it's very self-contained. I don't think there'll be another episode, but I'm fine about that. That's kind of bitter this week because I love the series so much. And I love there to be another series, but I don't think there will be because they finished off all the storylines in the best way possible at the end of series 2. It's not a long show overall. It's only 12 episodes overall. That's including both series 1 and 2. It's only 12 episodes, and I can't recommend it enough. I really can't. Honestly, go and watch it. It is fantastic. It is an absolute joy, and it's one of the most fun and exciting and enjoyable TV shows I've seen in the past couple of years, and it's also probably my favourite TV show I've seen in the past 2 years as well. I love it. I really, really do. And so, all in all, I want to say that the Outlaws Series 1 and 2, I want to say that they're a 9 out of 10 from me. Anyway guys, what do you think of the Outlaws Series 1 and 2? Please leave a comment down below and know your thoughts in the comment section below. Honestly, I can't recommend the show enough. Go and check it out because it won't disappoint you. Anyway guys, thank you as always for watching, and if you haven't yet, please click down below and like subscribe on this video, and look forward to many more, both film and TV views, coming very soon on this channel. See you guys again soon, but bye for now, bye!